Morning, everyone. Welcome back. BetSports Golf 2024. Waste Management, Phoenix Open, TPC Scottsdale, People's Open.
Hey,
Andy, what's going on, buddy?
not much. Yeah, this is a good one, and it's a really nice way to kill the afternoon, like before the big game. As we're not allowed to say Super Bowl, I don't think, or Super Bowl or Chiefs or 49ers, or you can, just not in the context of using it to try to sell tickets to your bar or promote a product of your own. Like it's very chintzy how litigious the NFL can be. But yeah, it's always fun. This is one of the first events I ever hit outrights on. It was, at a bar waiting for the Super Bowl to start, watching Matsuyama in a playoff. It was a lot of fun, especially since the bar owner was a very old woman who used very colorful terms about Matsuyama's background and ethnicity. I'm like, I don't think you can say that. But, it was a lot of fun, especially hitting the winner. He's won here a couple times. Obviously, that's been talked about a bunch this week on the internets and on the Twitters. It is another one where, of course, history has been a little more predictive. I don't know, your overarching thoughts on this place.
Well, I want to pause. I feel like we have some like world of golf stuff to talk about. Like, I don't need you to like weigh in on the
I'm not doing that.
Pebble, the Pebble stuff. But any Pebble thoughts? Whether it's post, the betting. You know what the term is? Not a betting scandal. It's betting news.
Yeah,
it's
not. So
I don't know.
If anyone doesn't understand what Brian's talking about here, is people understanding that the fourth round was very unlikely to happen. Even if they did try to play it on Monday, the weather wasn't looking good. And I mean, there was downed trees and power lines and people didn't have power. The course was a mess. It didn't seem like they were going to be able to get a fourth round in with with another event right backed up to it and a Monday qualifier and a pro-am down here and everyone wanting to get out of town. Some people took shots. And if you don't, if you're not somebody who's, I don't know, been in the gambling space long enough, that's something that used to get your hand slapped and your account taken away back in the offshore world. You used to have to talk to a mean guy named Tony, and he'd say, if I leave $100 on the bathroom, counter and walk out of the room and you take it, is that your money to keep? And I mean, the answer is no, because he would yell at you more. But if you did that, I mean, there's a delicate balance of taking a shot and, the people who just played like, hey, I'm going to play Wyndham Clark to win the tournament at plus money. If you're going to hang an outright market, not understanding that might just end up being the winner by default, you probably deserve to get hit here. Like, you as a sportsbook should probably be taking those live markets down, understanding the situation. But if you go put in a 20-leg top 20 parlay with the 20 people that are in those positions to win $1 million, don't expect to be paid. And I understand that there is some ambiguity between the house rules and whatnot, but it's not something you're likely to get paid on. And not only that, but your account's getting flagged. Like good luck having high limits on anything. Good luck. They might even take away some things like props or some of the, the low liquidity markets, because suddenly you're flagged. And there's not a sports book in the world that doesn't have some sort of system for flagging accounts that are sharp, accounts that are getting a lot of closing line value and things of that nature. So 1,000%. I'm fine with some of this stuff getting paid. If you took a reasonable, like, hey, you shouldn't have Wyndham up as the a live winner right now. But if you took these shots like $100 to win $1 million, parlays and stuff like that after the tournament was concluded for the day, and don't complain about not getting paid.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. That was interesting. Created I guess an opportunity, to your point, like to take a chance, but like, the obvious sense of entitlement that came after on Monday morning when people realized they didn't get paid. It was just like a little bit of self-awareness is probably pretty important. And again, we're also in the same climate of like refunds when your guy gets hurt. You bet it over and a guy goes down, and it's like, just those house accounts for all those sports books are just getting inundated with people with their hands out looking to get, their bet recouped. So it's definitely the world we live in now. It's so important. Like customer acquisition, customer retention is so important to the books. So I still think we might not be in like what we were a couple years ago in terms of like bonus structure. These books are still doing this stuff to like, I really want to keep your business. So it's a very interesting time. So, people just continue to feel entitled and that they're owed and want to find loopholes. But yeah,
it's funny. I made the joke on like Tuesday. I think I was replying to Kirshner something about like, I said, well, you need to find a book that'll let you parlay the third round leader with the tournament champion. Just like turn that 2-1 into into a 5-1 by parlaying those odds instead. But no, it's funny. Some shots were taken. Some people did end up getting cashed on some of the things if they bet them early enough at certain places. And I don't know. Again, it's one of those things where house rules are house rules, and understand your house rules and don't get too wild with it, because again, you might get paid, but that might be the end of you betting at that book.
Yeah. No golf on Sunday, no football on Sunday. Did you watch any live?
A little bit. Yes, it was good. The only weird part again is still the shotgun start. The fact that like the
shotgun
people who were and what was nice is like actually having a playoff. Like you almost have to have a playoff in a live event to make the end nice and normal. Like, hey, they're playing the same hole, because that part is a little goofy when guys are playing, when people near the top of the leaderboard all day long are, on completely different parts of the course. At least we're just so used to, even if it's the second to last group, it's like, well, yeah, they're on 16, they're on 17. Like they're right behind the leaders. They're kind of, there's a sense to it. And, certain courses are set up like this to have exciting closing holes.
1,000%.
I mean,
this
week is a great example of that. So it was cool to have, some big names going at it, having a nice win. Still a little, the music's a bit much. Like everything else,
the music is a bit much. It does make it feel like an exhibition. It is harder to take it seriously, I feel like.
Yeah, but they could like the music seems like hey, crank that up on Saturday for everybody, and then like Sunday let's just play some golf. So no, it's cool. And yeah, as we get more and more big names heading that way, obviously the merger / deal, whatever we're gonna have, seems more and more likely. I don't believe the Hovland thing is actually a live related withdrawal. Obviously Xander's isn't. So it doesn't seem like we're going to lose any big names this week, but no, it was good. And again, my biggest qualm is you can't get much info. I will say I will give out one live pick because 90% of my information that I have about the course this week, the Las Vegas Country Club, is from the Billy Walters book I read last month. And made it sound like Phil has played a bunch of cash games at this course with Mr. Walters and other people. So Phil's like 300-1 or something stupid. He's a big number, like I don't play. I had this thing where I was going to bet every live event. I just couldn't keep it up. There just was such weird ones. Like I'm not staying up and watching Jeddah. I'm not going to bet the Bangkok event. Like I don't understand some of these. So you can get some pretty big numbers on. Let's see where Phil is. Phil 250-1 at BetOnline.
Okay.
I'll go hunt around. If I can find something better than that, I'll bet it. But at a minimum, I'm betting Phil Mickelson 250-1 to win an event on a course that I don't know. Some of the locals have probably played here, but it's a course where you can club down. There's a lot of water. It is a positional course, and I think knowing the course and having been there before is going to help him quite a bit. So maybe some situation or positional bets for Phil as well.
Okay. I thought my favorite part of it was, and I did watch a good chunk of like the back end of it, was, Rahm can't turn it off, right? Like he is who he is, right? He runs hot. He doesn't run hot like he used to necessarily. Fewer clubs thrown these days, but he was in contention, had a chance to win, didn't, comes off the green, and the announcer wants to talk to him immediately about the Legion's first win. It's your first event. You're a brand new team. And this dude, you could tell he had not thought about being part of a golf team for a solid 4 hours, maybe 4 days. And then like, he's still like, he's pissed that he did not close and win that golf tournament. And like later he got there and there's the champagne and they're celebrating, but like, the disconnect from like the team element was so funny to see in person, because he's just like, this is the dude who's just trying to win a golf tournament, who probably needed a second to be reminded of the back two guys on his team. I know that we brought Hatton over, but oh yeah. All right, we won. Cool. So that part two is also very, very hard. I joked that like,
I don't know if we could ever make that. I don't know if that's ever going to be a thing where guys are.
They
like
want it to be such a thing. I mean, that's the other piece of it too.
Team events have to be team events, like President's Cup, Ryder Cup, all those Solheim. Like it has to be. That's the focus of it. Nobody wins the Ryder Cup. You can bet on most points or something, but no one is like giving that guy, oh, you got most points. Rory, good job for you. And like, it's just not a thing. It's such a team sport in that point. They're wearing their, Europe blues and their US reds. Like it really feels like a team event, where these is just, no, it's shoehorning. It's very weird.
Yeah.
So
that's another reason why if you staggered, like you had a staggered normal start, you could get a few holes like with a couple of teammates cheering on their like teammates that are still on the course, but everyone's playing, like you're spread out all over the course. There's no like team vibe. That's part of it too, that we enjoy with the Ryder Cup, is whether it's the captains or, the assistant captains or the players who are done playing, like standing around watching the golf, like that feels like team golf to me. So yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, as the list continues to grow and they get good golfers, like that becomes an interesting watch. Now we just had some of like the reports come out. Not a lot of people tuned in, even though like they had a perfect opportunity with their top opening season events, big names, and they still couldn't like outdraw pickleball with a national audience. So that's, it's really tough sledding for them. But I'm a golf guy. We're a golf guy. Like I want to watch Brooks and Rahm and Cam Smith come down the stretch, and yet we love Neiman. I'd love to be able to have those guys around. So like I want to watch it, but it's like the staying power is going to be very, very interesting. And yeah, I don't know. Let's get into waste management. It's way more fun.
Let's get into this. Yeah, this tournament. Quick recap, and obviously we kind of already recapped Pebble. Like, good job, but it was a very odd event. We basically played, lift, clean, place, lift, place, clean. I can never say those in the right.
Lift, clean, in place.
Lift, clean, in place. The whole tournament. You had a 60 from Wyndham. Bunch of good golfers. Did go low at certain points. Obviously didn't finish the tournament, only got to play the 54, so that took away from it a little, but I mean, it's still just Pebble Beach. There's been a lot of groundswell for like, hey, we should have this in May when the weather's nicer, because it is one of the best courses, one of the greatest, the views, the vistas, the course in itself. Like, we should have this a different time of the year. I wonder if that happens eventually. That would be great. I don't have a lot other to say about Pebble. My reign of terror with newsletter matchups lost finally.
Dang, okay. Well,
not only lost Ryan, but I bet Steven Yeager over Wyndham Clark. I don't think it could have lost by more. You don't get penalized. I don't lose extra money. I lose the amount of money I bet. I lost my bet. They're not going to take extra just because I lost the bet by 1 trillion strokes. Those are funny, though. I have won bets by like 18 strokes. I've lost them by 18 strokes. Such is life. We'll move on. We're on to the waste management. But yeah, this is a little different than last year. There was an elevated event last year. It doesn't need to be an elevated event to draw the crowds, but the field is a little less strong than what we've seen in the past.
Well, we're sandwiched between elevated events or signature events, and that's part of it too. I think with obviously the Genesis next week, Tiger being involved in the Genesis, I think is going to be very interesting. But to your point, like some people want to come here, and it's going to draw a crowd either way, and it'll always draw a decent field at the top. Now the field got, as you mentioned at the top there too, a little bit weaker because Scotty's here. Obviously, that's a topic of a discussion. But then Hovland pulls out. He wants to get his game tightened up a little bit. I think before we get into the main stretch here of the season, Xander Schauffele pulls out as well. So all of a sudden, like the top of the board here gets a little bit thinner. And again, we're back to like a normal field. So they're not like a full field. It's just a little bit smaller than like the 154, like 136 or so. And then we're back to like a single course because we've been dealing with rotations and pro-ams and all that stuff here with a normal, round 2 Friday afternoon cut here as well, top 65 in ties. That go down here as well. So yeah, still, decent. What do we have? Like, 5 of the top 10 in the world and like 20 of the top 40. So still a decent field, to your point, like without the signature designated purse that's involved, people still want to come here and play golf because it's a lot of fun in a place where it does. Distance has mattered. Ball striking has mattered a lot. We get into like building some model stuff here, but we have seen some, all like fits can work here too if you have everything dialed in, because these greens run real pure. So you get even like some bad putters can get real hot and play some good golf here too. But any other course thoughts at the top?
Yeah, I mean, it is a course where you can get in trouble, even though the rough isn't all that rough, because there's rocks and cactuses and shit. You can find some weird spots if you're a little inaccurate. So it is kind of a total driving course. Distance will help, but accuracy is also big. Par 71, 7,200, large greens, pretty big greens in general. Reachable par 5s. You can score on these par 5s. And then, that last, like we mentioned when we were talking about the live event, this has a great finishing stretch. Obviously 16 with the the stadium hole. 18's a little weird, but you get the 16, 17, you get the water on 17 that it's not super threatening, but it's still there. And I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it a couple years ago with Sahith. Like, there's ways to bungle these holes and cost you a win. I think it was Scheffler, Schauffele, and Sahith kind of bunched up there, and where those second shots went was the entire tournament. So it's a really fun kind of the whole back nine is very fun. Obviously, it's a great course, but the whole back nine is fun. The closing stretch is fun. We'll talk about some of the stats that matter, but like I said, the rough isn't penal, but there's waste hazards, waste areas, waste problems, wasted open. I mean, that's what it is. And then you also kind of have to be able to deal with a crowd that's very different. Like, if you've ever gone to the waste management and also attended a different tournament, it's so wild, where it's like, I mean, you'll get the dirtiest fucking looks if you're moving or making a peep. I got stopped. We were way off in the distance. I got stopped. Be like, hey, you're in his sight line. You want to stop walking? Like, we're 150 yards from him. Like, he needs to chill. Whereas, waste management, you have guys doing beer bongs and girls taking their shirts off and people screaming. And that's why they don't let you have bottles anymore, because they threw somebody on the 16th green that one time with Harry Higgs taking his shirt off. So you have to be able to deal with that environment too.
Yeah, it's probably not for everyone. We
joked like one last thing too. It has been, it's been rainy in the West. And just in general, this course does firm up as the week goes by. That's just how they've done it, how they always do it. It will get faster and firmer as the tournament goes on. It's kind of just how it's done here. So that does add to the allure of the final rounds as well.
Yeah, and I think what's important there is that's part of why you see a trickle-down effect of why distance really matters, because the greens get so firm and fast that holding the greens on approach shots, gets a little bit harder, because they do start to play extremely, extremely quick. So, Ron referenced that in his preview that's on the site, is, looking at like shot apex. You want to be able to have high ball flight into these greens to be able to land a little bit softer and hold, because they get a little bit quick. But a lot of people rave about these. It's like, at this point, again, Ron will get into all the details if you go over to betsportsgolf.com and read the preview. These are POA Trivialis at this time of year. They can get people love them because they are consistent and pure, especially coming off of a little bit of run of POA, but they are almost glass table like as we get closer to the weekend. And if we don't get any more moisture to kind of make these a little bit softer, they can get pretty quick. And again, it makes for an interesting weekend of final finish there too, which is again a great lead up. And we've had some close finishes, like Ron had it too. Like, we've had a lot of one stroke finishes, a lot of playoffs here. They give you a little leeway. Like, they have no interest of running into the start of the Super Bowl there, or even getting real close to kick there. So but he's still building enough time for us to have like a playoff there, which has happened pretty frequently here in the last couple of years. So should be some good golf here at the very end on Sunday afternoon. So
yeah.
all right.
Kind of key stats here. And again, go to Ron's preview if you want to read more into this, but I mean, you have to score here. It's not a complete birdie fest like 30 under shit, but approach, ball striking, obviously important. I said total driving. It's distance, yes. Accuracy, yes. And especially on these par fives, if you want to give yourself some really good shots to score, some distance and accuracy on the par fives are really beneficial. Obviously, a lot of people are going to look at scoring stuff. Birdies are better, scoring on short putts, putting on these greens, things of that nature. And then, like we said, course history, and maybe a little bit of scrambling. Scrambling does come into play here as well.
Yeah, sure.
Especially, it's not terrible deep grass, but I'd say it's easy scrambling, but you still got to be the guy that gets up and down for some of these birdies if it's scrambling on like a par five. So
yeah, it's easier to gain on scrambling here.
Yes.
Yeah, it's easier to gain scrambling here, but it still matters, right? You still like to have the guys that are good at it too, because it is gonna matter a little bit. I'll take a look at some stuff here. What do we want to do? Let's do this.
Yeah. Just and then real quick too. I had Morikawa as my one and done. You needed to use a big name last week. It was a little disappointing because he came out of the gates hot. It's such a weird. It was a weird. I know it was a weird tournament too with the weather, but I will be. I always forget because I have access to this, but do please check out our sponsor, Pool Genius /Team Rankings. If you're sick of relying on just luck for your PGA one and done, add a little more science and data to your process with their free tool. It's free until the 11th. You can still get in and check out their tool. They've, obviously known for some of their tools that they have around Survivor Leagues and March Madness, but they will give you customized pick advice based on your pool size tournaments and past picks. You can even have multiple pools that you're in entered into this, and it'll give you customized advice for each one of them, give you data-driven pick grades, in-depth golfer data, and trying to just save you a bunch of time researching and tracking picks across multiple pools. Check that out. Like I said, Pool Genius, the link is in the show notes. It is free right now. Try it out. Support us. Support the sponsors. And speaking of sponsors, if you want to build, we're about to build a model with the Rabbit Hole tool. The Rabbit Hole tool is not free because it costs a bunch of money to pay developers to build this sort of stuff. That said, it's $20 a month, which is fairly reasonable, I would say. I don't think it's going to be $20 a month forever, by the way. I'm not saying that you'd be grandfathered in, but I'm also winking if you can't see me on the podcast. So if you were the kind of guy who want to pay for that thing monthly, you might want to hop on that sooner than later. Or if you want to play Vivid Picks, you can get a full year of access for $5. Pretty easy. There's a link to the just a little article in the show notes for that as well. It is a pick'em site, just like Prize Picks or Underdog Picks, any of those. It's very easy to use. You literally need to go there, deposit at least $5, play at least $5, and you'll get a code for a free year, which is worth $199. So that is a savings of a lot. That's $195 off for the first year, which is a very good discount. Check that out. Obviously, you can deposit more than that if you want. They will match you up to $250 if you actually want to, check it out, play some games there, look at some pick'em, play the Super Bowl, look at some of these golf lines you're going to put up. You can get matched up to $250. And if you're not in a state where it's available, shoot us a DM. We have a consolation prize. We can get you a discount. We just want you to be able to try it out. Like I said, that's in the show notes. Or if you have any questions, DM any of us on the Twitter machine. And yeah, let's check out the Rabbit Hole.
Let's do it. So this is an interesting, and I want to, doing some research, and I want to do this like before. Well, we'll kind of give a high level view, and then I just want to show some stuff that I found to be quite interesting here. If you're seeing this again, you listen to the podcast. We appreciate that. Subscribe wherever you are. Tune into the YouTube channel because I think that's your best bet for this show in particular to be able to see the rabbit hole in action and be able to get understanding of what we're talking about. Is probably not a great audio listen, but that's okay. Like,
we'll try to make it. We'll try to make it okay for audio. We'll talk about what we're doing.
Yeah.
We'll talk about some of the high level stats that we're gonna build a course fit model. We're gonna take some of the stats that we talked about, put them together, give them some weighting, and see who in this field is the best as far as what we think is important this week. So
Yeah,
I'll let you start it.
This is officially licensed PGA data that you can chop and cut up and filter by so many conditions and views that you will like spin your brain. But I think it is a very important piece to, whether you're building a betting card, you're making outright bets, you're making DFS lineups to get an understanding of piecing together the stats that matter to a specific course. And then also like who's in good form and who is long-term really strong at these key metrics. You can see here we're defaulted to obviously the Waste Management Phoenix Open Fields. We should have the ability here this week to be able to look at multiple fields. You'll be able to maybe look at some majors coming up. Once the Genesis field comes in on Friday afternoon, you should be able to look at that sooner than later. Again, you can break this into, you want to look at, specific year stuff, all these different views, which we're going to go through here. This little filter by condition thing will give you the ability to chop this up into more ways, as I was saying, that you could possibly wrap your brain around. But we're going to do some of that now. Scotty is in this field, Andy, and he's the two-time defending champ. The field got weaker because we lost Hovland and we lost Xander. Now, from an outright betting standpoint, Scotty is 5-1. That's really hard for pretty much anyone.
Him. Yeah, if you want to parlay him with who you think wins the Super Bowl.
That's what I suggested. You could parlay Scotty and Rom, or Scotty and Phil. It probably pays really nice if you want to, live PGA double, whatever you want to do there. You're probably getting a real crooked number on Scotty and Phil, which seems appropriate. But let's just talk Scotty in just specifically here, because I want to look at this. And now you can mess around with how this is displayed. You can look at ranking. You can look at average. You can look at total. I love, percent of rounds gained. I think that's a very unique way to get an understanding of someone's baseline, someone's consistency, and all these things. But look, this is just filtered by strokes gained tee to green over the last 50 rounds. We have a minimum rounds filter here of 20 rounds. It's going to filter out any noise. But look at it. Just look at this, Andy. Tee to green, last 50 rounds. Look at this dude. He is so far away, better than anyone else in this field. And again, this is a ball striking tee to green course that matters. And if you just slide over here to ball striking, he is double basically anyone else. And it is like, that is so hard to fathom how much better he is than anyone else in this field on the things that are the most sticky in terms of like golf stats. So now you see the big glaring minus 21.3 strokes gained putting over the same time frame. That has been the bugaboo. That's why
the reason he didn't win 10 events last year.
1,000%.
Otherwise, he should have had like a Tiger year.
But look, strokes gained total, which is giving him the minus 21. He's still miles ahead of anyone else. This is how far ahead he is from a tee to green standpoint. So it is absolutely insane. So like you almost have to have some sort of Scotty exposure on the betting card this week. Now, I'm not telling you that you have to bet him outright, but gosh, like if you think get a top 5, get a top 10.
In the top 5, I would be like, if he's not in the top 5, he lost 10 strokes on the greens.
He's gained strokes putting it here the last 2 times and almost did the year before where, almost won. So like, again, like, the way that I structure outrights, and again, everyone does it a little bit different. It's a, basically a to win amount, which kind of flattens it for me over the course of a season. That makes a 5-1 ticket very, very expensive. Now, again, like, am I considering it still? I kind of am. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I feel like it's going to start and it's going to be the weekend and I'm going to be watching on Sunday and be like, what a donkey. Like, this is so clearly Scotty. You could have sold me on Vic. You could have sold me on Xander. And now, like, I was interested in JT if maybe we had a 10 or like a 20. He's 10. He's like 9 in some spots.
I know.
Like,
I'm still.
He's just too close to. He's too close to Scotty.
You're basically you're betting anybody else. You're betting in this field. You're betting a parlay of your guy plays well. Scotty doesn't putt so good. Like enough to open doors for people.
Yeah. So again, it's Super Bowl week. it's a week to maybe invite a little bit more variance and a little bit more nuance. And to Andy's point, like, hey, who do you like in the Super Bowl? Scotty and Chiefs money line, or Niners -2 probably makes a little bit more sense than maybe we would typically advise in a normal week of pairing a golf outright with something else. But man, it's definitely a discussion to be had because he is just miles ahead of everyone else. So, all right, anchor stats, Andy. Tee to green, ball striking. We've talked about this the last couple of weeks. Do we want to separate around the green, or strokes gained, short game, or putting? Because I do think those matter here. What do you want to do for an anchor stat?
Let's do ball striking.
Okay.
It's a ball striking week. It's a good one to use.
All right, we will do that. Again, we'll go back to the rank
12.
to see where people are.
How big of a sample? 12 months?
I'm
12 months.
12 months, 50 rounds. But
yeah, 12 months, 50 rounds, minimum of 20. I like that.
Okay. All you need to do to add this, and you can see here, you have this little create mixed condition model button. Once we add a bunch of things to this, we can go ahead and run that. If you're new, there's a little watch tutorial here where you can hear me talk for 5 minutes of how to do this, but we're gonna do it for you here now and walk you through it. All you need to do to add something is simply hit this little add column to your custom report. You want to see what the specific stat is. All you need to do is scroll over it and it'll tell you what that is. This allows you to make a little note if you want to say what the conditions are, for instance, like last 12 months, last 50 rounds. That's up to you. You don't have to, but I'll show you where that will populate later. All right, from around the green, short game, putting, what do we want to do here? I don't think we need to break it up into Poa Trivialis personally. But what are your thoughts on that?
Could we go easy scoring putting? Easy.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. What are some different ways to differentiate the surface that aren't just choosing only Poa Trivialis? Because that sample's going to be smaller.
It is. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that. I don't mind that little nuance, and I did not do that for mine or anything that I've done so far. So let's take a look at it.
Do something different.
Okay. So we should do. We'll do easy scoring conditions. I like that. And then all you need to do is hit apply. And again, I've talked about this before. Don't start clicking 3 or 4 different things in here because you're gonna just absolutely nuke your sample size. You're gonna have to go back for 5 years and you're gonna get 20 rounds. It becomes a very noisy data set. But again, you can manipulate by green service here, like we said, all sorts of different ways as you scroll down here in terms of how about game putting? Do you want to do anything around this? We haven't messed around with any of this. Do you feel like
let's change it let's change it to that. All right, so instead of easy scoring conditions, we'll go places where people have gained a lot. Putting has been easier.
Okay, we'll apply this. Let's see what we get from a sample size standpoint. We're getting nothing for the last 12 months. So maybe this is not a good. Let's see when we go back to 3 years. What kind of sample are we getting? Oh, we're getting people. Okay. 3 years, 20 rounds. Let's see how many people we're getting here. We're getting 97. So we're getting a lot of the fields. What do we think of this?
Norin, look at you. That checks.
Okay. Let's add this.
Yeah, do you want to go putting or short game?
That's a good point. Let's get short game because I do think around the green is going to matter here.
So overall short game when putting has been easy.
Yep. All right. You can see here I get the little red dot that shows me that I have something. Make sure you turn it off. Otherwise, you're going to start to filter your views all through that same condition. So, all right, what do you want to do with off the tee? Off the tee, obviously, we touched on distance mattering. You touched on, total driving. I think those things do matter quite a bit as well. You do a little bit of both. What are we thinking?
Yeah,
touch on the ability to do carry is unique for us as well that you can do here that you can't do elsewhere. I don't think carry is something we want to do this week where you're going to get some run out here because especially when it plays firm and fast, and we definitely want to capture that data when we're breaking it down.
Yeah, it's one of those where you could go a lot of different. I mean, you could straight up just go off the tee numbers. This is a place where, if you want to just overall, how are we with our driver everywhere? I don't know if I want to filter it too much by conditions.
Okay.
Maybe We can, but again, maybe it is just total driving this week again. Like we said, distance is going to help you huge on these par fives, and honestly, some of the drivable fours. But also like you're going to need the accuracy too. Where total driving is going to bring that in. Good drive percentage, because without saying it, that brings distance in a little bit.
I
Because
agree.
unless you are just a crazy wizard with the long irons, it's meaning you hit a drive with some distance as well. So good drive percentage might be where it's at.
Yeah, let's do that one. I've looked at total driving, and I think that makes a lot of sense this week too. But I think good drives captures that as well. And I just want to have a different look to see maybe there's someone that we're missing or someone that could benefit from good drives. Just scanning down here too. Let's see if there's any, people that jump out or benefit more from one or the other. You see some pretty strong correlation, which makes sense from when we're looking at these numbers. Hello, Scotty. Driving accuracy, not great, but good drives is helped quite a bit. Again, that is helping because he is so good and dynamic from an approach standpoint too, which I think is really kind of the story I think we're trying to tell, which is important too, is understanding what we're trying to gain by building this model and what we're trying to use these stats for too, right? Instead of just trying to think in a box and just add a number, like what are we trying to actually have done here? And I think the good drives is a good look. What else do we want to do here? Anything in terms of scoring? I think the par four stuff matters a ton here. Because you have the extra, you par 71, you got to be able to take advantage and score on some of these. You want to be a little bit more consistent on the par fours. So I don't know if we want to capture that in just straight up scoring or any of the par four efficiency stuff. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you can do that. You can do birdie or better. You can do any of the scoring metrics there. We talked about the par fives being important, but like you said, it's a par 71, so we lack one. I don't know how. I don't know if I want to put that in and weight it with people playing 4 less par fives over the course of the week.
Agreed.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Scoring, or maybe some par four efficiency here.
I did par four efficiency on the stuff that I ran, so let's look at scoring and see how we can break this down. Just straight up birdie or better percentage. You got to take advantage of Eagles when they're available. See the guys here last 50 rounds taking advantage of Eagles. Definitely a collected group here, which is interesting.
Bogey avoidance. I mean,
yeah, you got to stay off the big numbers.
Take it a different direction, because there's going to be. It doesn't matter. You're going to get in a little trouble here and there, and just being able to get up and down. So I think we've weighted some metrics that are going to find guys near the top anyway that are going to be good at scoring when they put themselves like what we did with the putting. We're going to find that we've already basically got the scoring. We need to find the other side of the equation, the guys catching pars where they need them.
Yeah. I'll do a couple things. We're going to do bogey avoidance, and then I also want to capture a small number. We can mess around with the weights of our par four efficiency because I think that matters a little bit too. And then I'm going to play around with, do you like birdie or better in the par fours or par four average?
Let's go birdie or better.
Okay. We have this in our miscellaneous metrics, which I think is a cool section where you get some unique stats. You can look at, AM PM scoring, ball speed, club head speed. These are some things we touched on when we were dealing with some of the thicker rough at Torrey Pines a couple of weeks ago. But touching on the importance of apex height and the ability to, have a ball flight that is conducive to holding these greens, which I think is interesting. And then just a quick scan here. There's definitely obviously a correlation in some of the longer drivers here, but you also see some guys that have played pretty well here historically, even in a small sample. So I'm going to put it in because I think it's interesting. And again, it's just a part of it is making a unique model and some things that we can do here on the show that you can't find anywhere else. And we're going to put an apex height because we can. All right.
Find our apex predators. All right, Bill, wait it. Let's wait it.
All right, let's see. All right, when you hit that button, it takes you to this new field. You can see this is where I put that one time in the description just to show you what that looks like. But it obviously defaults to a weight that allows you to push this through, but we'll mess around with it. So we will do our waste management betting show model. We'll put this on here for folks. How do we want to weigh this here? And you can do this little click this little button here. It shows you the filters that we put on to remind you this is obviously just strokes gained, ball striking.
We did not grab any real approach numbers.
Well, so we kind of did.
Good drive has it a little.
So does ball striking.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like ball striking was the anchor that we always use, but the last few weeks we've been doing an anchor like total or ball striking, tee to green, and then also doing approach. So I think we maybe need to go a little heavier on ball striking than we'd been doing like 25, 30, maybe 35, something a little heavier there.
Okay.
And then from there, I'm down with except apex height should be probably pretty light, 10% or less.
I'm going to go 5.
Okay. So leaves us with 60 to split between the 4. So you got 15 each on average. What's our most important from what's left? Short game, good drive percentage, bogey avoidance, or par 4s. Probably
I think either good drive or par 4.
Drive.
Yeah.
Let's give that a 20.
Okay.
All right. Now we're at 60.
I'm going to go 50 in here.
75. 25 to play with. So a 15 and a 10.
Let's go 15 and 10.
Okay.
All right. You can save a ton of reports here. As you can see, you're not limited on the numbers that you can do here. We're working on some tech on the back end that'll allow you to, you can run these for any event, regardless of the field. Obviously, you were running the Scottish for the specific Scottish field, but you want to run that for the next year. You'll be able to. You want to have any like just evergreen off the tee models, driving accuracy, some of these things here. You should be able to save and do that here too. I'm going to save this so you'll be able to view that on the site. You can see here, if you want to just click view expert rankings, any of our staff members, you want to see what our models are for the week, you can click into this and see those as well, which I think is pretty cool for you. Let's generate this and let's see what we get. All right. You always love when it makes sense at the top.
If Scotty's not in the top 3, we'll just end the stream.
Okay. Ooh. Not number 1 though.
Eric Cole, number 1. And again, maybe we have done a piss poor job the last few weeks for people that are listening. So Eric Cole, number 1, Scotty, number 2, which makes sense. Poston, 3rd. Poston has been sneaky up everybody's rankings. Benny On's had a nice young season. Alex Noren, as we mentioned, was high in the putting stuff. Grayson Sig. This is where I should have stopped reading. Grayson Sig, again, we're doing a bit of a course fit thing here, so we're trying not to overfit too much, but that's the point where when we got Grayson Sig, Doug Gim, and JJ Spawn that high, Bo Osler, not scared of Bo Osler, Adam Scott, Lucas Glover, and Sam Ryder are your top 12. Wyndham Clark, last week's winner, is 13th in our course fit model right now. So, I mean, Scott
benefiting from the
checks out.
Wyndham Clark benefiting from his 5% apex height bump. That's his strongest metric here. So Eric Cole, that's again, we've friend of the show, Eric Cole. We've been happy to tout Eric from the beginning last year. And that is definitely interesting. So Scotty not being on the top is obviously very interesting. This is in the salary here from a DraftKings standpoint is DraftKings. You can actually default to FanDuel if you'd like as well. You can also just sort by this too. I think is interesting to see where some of the top of the board guys, Justin Thomas, not faring very well in this model, which I think is pretty interesting. Sammy Burns has been in contention. They're not able to seal the deal here as of late. Jordy fits up there.
That's a good point about Justin Thomas. Like, we're using a lot of sample sizes that include a big chunk of last year, where Justin Thomas played like absolute dog shit. That guy missed the cut at the 3M. He's a winner on a major the year before. I mean, he went and tried to sneak into the playoffs in some bad events and couldn't get it done. Like there's some very bad golf played by Justin Thomas last year. So take that sort of stuff with the context that you understand as a golf fan, a follower of the game, a better. Like I'm still gonna bet JT. He's back on the normal diet. He's eating normal food again, and he's playing well.
He's playing
And I
really
know
well.
the number sucks. I don't know what I'm going to do about that either. It's like 12-1, the best number I can find, I think.
12 is, that's not much different than where he opened up when we had still, Vic and Xander in the field. So 12 is pretty good because you're seeing, I think, some shorter than that numbers in a few other spots as well, which I think is definitely interesting, which is just hard. It's hard. It's too close to Scotty, which is tricky. So most of the domestics are 9 or 10 currently on him. So Chris is, 9 and change. So yeah, definitely interesting. Now, from a DFS standpoint too, like even though we're betting show, you're playing DFS, you can, these are, I think it should lead you down, quote unquote, a wormhole to do a little bit more research on a guy. Like you see, like a Grayson Sink, for instance, or a Doug Gim or JJ Spawn. These are these 3 guys here, back to back to back. Even Norin here at 7,900 that are, hey, I want to do a little bit more research. Maybe those guys are viable, finishing position bets or down the board plays from a DFS standpoint. So definitely interesting. And again, this is something that you can download into a CSV right here, chop up this data, do whatever else that you want to. And again, a unique feature that you won't find anywhere else in terms of golf modeling sites that allows you to just get a little bit more information and do a little bit more with it than you possibly could anywhere else.
Yeah. Let's talk some bets then. Let's talk
bets.
The payoff here. The payoff, like I said, I'm betting JT. I don't care. It's like 12-1. I think if he hadn't had last year, he'd be a lot closer in what's left of this field to Scotty. Not like 5-1, but 7-8-1, something like that. He is capable. He is like I said, he won a major not that long ago. If he's got his game back, he's fine. So I'll bet him at like 11. And then, I mean, maybe I should just take Cole. He came out on the top of the model. I have to check out what mine looked like.
Yeah. Back to JT. I mean, I've definitely, we've been doing this for a couple of years together, historically a more JT guy than you for sure. So that gives me pause. Like, look, even last year, at this point, he wasn't like the full-on tailspin, but like 4th year last year, we have like a string of like 3, T3, T13, T8, 4th. Like he's played really well.
Yeah, that's
here
the other
as
thing
well.
too. He's had great results here. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I get it. He should be second on the betting board, and probably should have been in that discussion, even if Xander or Hovland were still in the field. I was just a little startled to see that number at open because I was hoping for a larger number, but I'm just a donkey and was wishing for a number that was absolutely never coming to me. So on the betting board too, just we'll use FanDuel for reference. Next on the betting board is Homa at 16. That's pretty much baked across domestics. Now I bet Chris offshore very sharp, 14 on Homa, so that maybe is a sign there as well. Spieth at 20, Burns at 20 as well. Those are down to even 16 on some books too. You kind of have a gap and a large kind of cluster there at 28 to 30, depending on the book too, where you get Ben An, Minwoo Lee, JT Poston, Matthew Fitzpatrick, Wyndham Clark, and Sanjay. Tom Kim, Thigala kind of in that next mix, Cam Young, and your boy Eric Cole there as well. These all kind of shrunk when we did get the rest of when Xander and Hovland pulled out. Those guys moved, maybe even more so than what happened with JT and Scotty too. So no current bets for you now, but you're thinking basically JT and Cole. Is that where you're at?
I will be betting. I'll be betting JT.
Okay.
Phil and JT are on the card, so that's strong. Looking at another JT Poston, seeing what I can get for a number there. It feels bad betting that guy at like under 40, but I mean, all things considered, the recent form, how he's playing right now, might actually justify that. Another guy that popped in my model, not the one we just made, but the one I made, which again, if you want to go look, you can see those on site. That's all available. I have that saved as an expert model. So you can go poke around at what I did. Corey Connors, who I've bet way too much over the past few years and never seemed to get rewarded for that. If I had to take somebody a little further down, oh God, Luke List is always going to pop for me. I'm done with that.
Yeah. I mean, Corey Connors 4th in the ball striking sample that we put into our model. So he's
Yeah, I mean that's always the case. Like if you
Yeah.
look at approach, look at iron play, look at ball striking, he's going to come up high there. So
Yeah.
Connors maybe miss me with Connors. I don't know. We'll see what's the price. 50, 55. A lot of people touting Sung Jae. I think the price might just be a little too low for me there. If I wanted to bet somebody in that range, I might look, a little further down, maybe at like Byung-Han An, Benny An, or even Sam Burns is the same price as Sung Jae. I think I'd rather have Sam Burns than Sung Jae at that price.
I'd rather have Sam Burns than Sung Jae at that price for sure too. I bet Benny An at 45 on Monday.
Nice.
The 45 is a long gone, and my thought was it was going to get to 30, 33 or so. Playing really good, not winning, but like just flirting with winning. He's 4 T4 or better finishes in the past 8 starts, both times in Hawaii. Didn't absolutely play particularly well last week at Pebble. Just hits it a mile. Short game's really good too. On and around the green stuff is save him from some of the, like, I would say fluctuation from an approach standpoint. But he also, like, the distance just helps massively here, because you look at like overall proximity on approach in this field in the past 36 rounds, he's 11th. And again, he's not like a middle of the pack in terms of approach stuff. So I think it was a good number that I thought was going to go away, because he's been pretty popular in the space as well. So I thought he'd be a first click for a lot of people, including myself. So yeah, we got on the right side of the number there. I'll have to have a finishing position bet, because he's been really teasing you if you've been going to the window on the outright market and not backing it up with a T5 or a T10 or even a T20. You get a plus number. MGM pay you ties in full. T20 is plus 130 on BetAn. So I think that's a pretty good look too. I only have one other outright currently. Partially, I just don't know what to do with with the Scotty stuff, and you're messing around with my mind with JT there as well, even though I know I'm getting probably a pretty crack number. I went with Akshay. Akshay's like, the broom putter, Andy, is really working.
It's picking up. Like, if he puts it all together, like, remember what he did at Barracuda? If he does put it all together, he has the game. Just once in a while, we're not quite there especially with the putter.
But like this year, we have 4 events that he's played in, in this season, and T14, T13, missed the cut at the Amex, and T13, but almost made the cut at the Amex. But like, we are plus distance, plus accuracy, gaining like massively per round on the greens with the putter, which is just, if you look at what happened to the back end of last year, it was like massively losing strokes, like 1.5 per round pretty consistently. But he's been awesome on the green. The approach game's great. Plus from a off the tee standpoint, he's been really good. So I think I got a bad number. I thought it was the best number at the time. I got a 66. I think there are 70s. Where are we at on Akshay currently? 75. There's 75s. Like, I might take a small.
I can get 95 at Chris right now.
Someone in the Discord this morning said bookmaker had 100.
Yeah, it looks like it's gotten pushed down a little. It's 95.74.
It's a great bet, I think. I mean,
that is a bomb. I had 2. It's funny you've gotten me looked into that now. I'm tempted. A really gross one I'm thinking about betting. My only bomb, and the bomb I'll probably close with here, is Lucas Glover.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you're pulling anything that has 50 rounds, you're pulling anything from the back end of last year, he's gonna be awesome.
Well, just some of those. I mean, not even those courses aren't the same, but they're scoreable courses. Where it's like what he did at Wyndham last year, what he did at some TPC courses, what he did at the John Deere, or what he did at Detroit, where the putter was kind of working. The guy can score because of what he does, tee to green. So he's like 150 to 1. That maybe my only bomb, unless you do continue to talk me to Akshay.
I mean, I love 95 on Akshay. I absolutely love. Like, I'd probably play that at a bigger price or bigger unit play, because I think that's such a bad number. So, because again, that's not an expensive ticket, just the way that works out. But yeah, I mean, I get the Glover stuff. Like, He's second in ball striking in the stuff that we ran. First in bogey avoidance, third in the par 4 scoring. He's getting dinged for short game stuff. It's getting and weighing him down, but he was 11th in the model we ran. So yeah, I get why someone would still want triple digits on Glover, who's shown that he can compete and win. So yeah, that's it. I don't want to. It's for me. It's like I'll probably go a little bit heavier on finishing positions. I like Spieth this week. I think Spieth is going to be really competitive. I don't want to play 18 outright, but like a top 10. I think he likes his course. The ball striking numbers have been really good. He's he's gonna be a tough watch, and he's a tough cheer. It's not a guy I love to root for.
If you want to watch him and Greller trying to talk him out of hitting it off the top of a cactus. Like, I guess he can do that. Like, I'm not interested in him this week.
The ball striking stuff's been really good. Off the tee has been like plus distance, plus accuracy. The approach stuff's been really good. Again, he's just sometimes the inside 5 feet stuff here, but he's liked this course, has performed pretty well here. The number of times he's been here, so he'll be on the card somehow. But that's probably what I'm going to do this week, is probably go a little bit heavier with the. I like to hang in the top 30, top 40 market. Maybe I take some more stabs in like the top 5, top 10, and just get some guys to the top of the board that I think are going to be in the mix. And, I got a nice little free bet from our friends over at Bet Rivers. So I threw that on Scotty. Maybe I have a Scotty Rom ticket. that's like 32 to 1. Maybe I need to get some Scotty Phil or some Scotty Niners or something like that. But yeah, that's probably the way I'm going to mess around.
I just bet a Glover Mickelson parlay. It's like 50 cents to win like 12 grand. I couldn't even justify putting $1 on it. I had 5 in there. I'm like, what are you waste? That's a cup of coffee, Andy. That's wasteful. I'm gonna be so mad if he wins now because I cost myself like $40,000.
Oh, I do it all the time. I'll put it in I'll put a bet in the slip, and you just look at it and you're like, well, now like I've seen it in my mind. So like if I'm
manifesting it already.
Yeah. And it's like if it happens, I'm gonna be so pissed at myself. So yeah.
I might have to go to I'm guessing the best number on Phil is gonna be at Circa. They really jack up their long shots. Like I will have to check that out, see what they have for the live prices. Might have to do a little Dairy Queen run down to Iowa and bet on some Circa prices on this weekend. But yeah, that's it. At Andy MSFW, at RY Noonan, betspurtsgolf.com, at betspurtsgolf. Check out our partners, Pool Genius. If you want some one and done stats and research help, again, that's free. It's in the show notes. If you want access to the model building tool, the rabbit hole that we just played with for half an hour, in the show notes, you can check that out. There's a few different ways, but like I said, if you're in a vivid state, $5 is a pretty easy way to get it done. We'll check you guys on the flip side. We'll see you next week. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Enjoy Live Las Vegas. Enjoy boy. Can you name the DP tournament this week?
I saw it earlier, and no, I can't off the top of my head.
It is. I always want to say I always just go with Czech Masters when I'm like guessing. I know for sure it's not the Czech Masters. It is Bahrain. No, it's the Qatar mate. That was last week. It is the Qatar.
Yeah, Qatar.
Qatar Masters. So enjoy the golf. Check you guys. Have a good one. Hit the thumbs up on the way out, and if you have a winner, drop it in the comments. See ya.